Hi guys, it's me. Welcome back to my channel. Woo, y'all, I know it's been a minute, almost 2 years since I last posted, which is wild, but life has happened, but I'm back. Bridgerton has brought me out of retirement. Funnily enough, I felt like they put me in retirement based off the third season. I believe that was the last video I actually taped. I was so excited for the third season of Bridgerton, but then that quickly faded. I actually filmed the first episode recap and I was so excited. And then I just did not like how that season ended. So, but I'm back because Bridgerton season 4 has pleasantly surprised me. First off, if you have not been to my channel before, which some of you have, a finite few of you have, but if this is your first time being here, hi, it's me, Sarah. This is my channel, Recaps and Reacts, where I just talk about, react, not really react, but I mostly recap, but I mean, I guess I talk about my reactions throughout the videos too, but I react and recap to any movies, shows that I thoroughly enjoy. You know, I started doing this because I do this with my friends and family all the time, and then I was just like, I'm just gonna do it and talk to other people around the planet too who also enjoy this, talking about shows and movies. And if you do, please leave a comment and I'll come back to you. We can discuss. But anyway, again, welcome to my channel. Welcome back to some of you who have been here before. I'm back. Hopefully, no, I will be back permanently. But we're going to talk about the first episode of Bridgerton season 4, which this is Benedict's season. You know, after the third season, I was a little skeptical of this current season. And by the why I'm shooting the second half has not come out yet. So the second half is coming out sometime this week. So hopefully I will still have the same feeling about this season. But I was a little skeptical because I was so excited for Colin and Penelope season. But yeah, I did not care for it. Especially coming off of Queen Charlotte, because I am not a day one Bridgerton fan. I am a Queen Charlotte fan. Queen Charlotte got me hooked on to Bridgerton, and then I binged everything. So far, I would have to say, if I had to rank, and I will rank by the end of this season, this fourth season, I'll have to re-rank it if I do. But so far, for me, Bridgerton, hands down. Queen Charlotte's like my number one, and I say that because Queen Charlotte got me in to the Bridgerton franchise. Definitely season 2 was my all-time favorite. I love Kate and Anthony. Whew, I loved their story. And then, of course, now Benedict. I really, so far, I will put Benedict number 3. I like Benedict and Sophie's story so far. So it's very sweet. I wasn't going to watch the first half. I was going to wait until it all came out, but in fear of spoilers, I went ahead and watched the first half, and I really enjoyed it. So much so, as I filmed this video, I decided to wear some silver accessories. I didn't want to wear like any silver clothing because I think that's too much. But anyway, I have my silver accessories. I have my headband by David Dalrymple that I got at Patricia Fields Art Fashion. I bought this from her website, and I have my Seville Michelle earrings, the little silver bamboo leather earrings. Got my John Hardy bracelet on and my David Yurman skull ring on. Skull Waves ring. This is actually a men's ring, but it's fire. You actually will probably see this ring quite a bit because I wear this all the time. And then this is my John Hardy bracelet. And then we have my beautiful makeup, which is Urban Decay. Whoop whoop. So yes, actually, it is not Urban Decay. I take that back. I wear a lot of Urban Decay. This one is actually Too Faced. So, yeah. So, anyway. So, in honor of that, I wore some silver for the lady in silver, as we will get into as I recap. So, let's get started. Yay! Okay. So the first scene that we see an opening scene of the Bridgerton house. We see, but it's showing us a little bit behind the scenes. It's showing housekeeping is getting ready for an arrival, and we find out it's an arrival for Eloise and Francesca. They've both been in Scotland. Remember, Francesca got married to Lord Kilmartin, last season, so they went to Scotland. Eloise went with them, and so now they're coming back. So the family is there to greet them, with the exception of Anthony and Kate. Anthony and Kate are actually in India right now, and everyone is there to greet Eloise and Francesca, their homecoming, except for Benedict. Mama Bridgerton, Violet. I will refer to Mama Bridgerton or Violet interchangeably, just so y'all know who I'm talking about. It's Violet or Mama Bridgerton. So she is visibly annoyed. She's trying to figure out where this man is. She's like, where is Benedict? And she goes to, I guess, I don't know exactly who he is. He's adorable though, but I don't know who he is. I don't know his name. And I will put his name here, down here, whatever I'm on. Y'all know what I mean. I'll put his name in there somewhere. Footman John goes with Mama Bridgerton to Benedict's bachelor pad, and she's kind of trying to stop him from going in there because he knows it's probably a mess. Then she goes into his house, and then there's another man there being like, Lady Bridgerton, don't come in, please. It's in disarray, and she's like, so I just need a whole staff so I can see my son. And so she barges into his bedroom, and she pulls the covers off of him, and Benedict is naked with a lady. And I believe there definitely was another lady on the other side of the room as she's opening the blinds. And of course, Violet's flustered. She's like, oh my gosh. And yeah, she basically is like, you need to get dressed. Back when Benedict, Mama Bridgerton and Benedict have a conversation, I believe it is back at Bridgerton house. I can't really remember. Anywho, so Mama Bridgerton gets onto Benedict, and she's like, you need to watch what you're doing, as your reputation carries. It affects your sisters who still have not been married. So what you do affects them, and them able to get a suitor for them to marry. So we know Eloise and Hyacinth still have not been married yet. Benedict expresses that he does not want to get married. He does not want to get married because the women of the town are boring. The women in society are boring. He's not interested, and they have no zest for life. He wants to stay true to himself and not conform to the norms of society, and that should be enough for his mother. And it looks like this is going to be a heartwarming moment, and Violet says, no, it's not enough. So Mama Bridgerton tells Benedict he needs to get it together because we're having the first ball of the season. So typically Lady Danbury throws the first ball of the season, but this time it is going to be Mama Bridgerton. So she tells Benedict to get it together because the ladies of society are coming to this ball, and I need you to straighten up. She does not want to be humiliated. Lady Whistledown is summoned to see the Queen, and the Queen basically wants a preview of the next Lady Whistledown issue. And if you remember last season, it is revealed that Penelope is Lady Whistledown, which, okay, and I know there's probably a lot of people, because I'm not really I don't look at anything else. I just watch Bridgerton. I don't read anything else really about it. But I am curious, after the last season, now that Penelope we all know that she is Lady Whistledown, how is that going to work, right? I do touch on something later on in this recap or in this episode that I do see, but I'm just kind of like, how are people going to feel comfortable if they know that Penelope's there at the balls? Like, are they going to be able to talk freely, speak freely? So anywho, with that being said, when Penelope is telling Queen Charlotte about the next issue, like she wants a preview of the next issue, it kind of goes into Julie Andrews' voice, who is Lady Whistledown, the narrator on the series. And we find out that there is going to be a masquerade ball, so it's kind of revealed. So, and then it flashes back to after the conversation that Benedict and Mama Bridgerton have. Benedict goes back to the club. I don't know what it's called. It's like a little, basically, because I don't think I mentioned this, but when Mama Bridgerton catches Benedict, she smells alcohol on him and all these things. So after he has a conversation with his mom, he goes back to this club, whatever, gets intoxicated, sees a man there. He makes out. I'm assuming they have a moment before he's about to go back to this ball. So there it goes to, after that, it starts showing people putting on their masks for the masquerade ball. And, you know, everyone getting ready with some familiar characters that we see, Penelope, Lady, and the Mondricks, if we remember them. Yeah, everybody putting on their mask for the masquerade ball. We cut to a lady in a carriage with a mask on. We don't know who she is yet. Bet y'all at home can guess who it probably is. I'm not going to say yet. I'm going to do it just like they do on the show. So we know this person, we don't know who this person is yet, but she has the mask on and she's very nervous in this carriage, trying to hype herself up to go to this ball. Out of the carriage, the coachman tells her, hey, go in after this big group. It'll look inconspicuous if you go in after this big group and no one will really ask questions because it looks like you're with the group. Just be sure to be back by midnight. We also can tell that this lady doesn't necessarily fit in to society. She's not used to going to balls because she's asked about her dance card from Footman John, and she kind of he asked her about like it taking a dance card, and she holds out her hand, and he's like, oh, did you want me to put it on you, or because you're what do they say, you're basically your date isn't around to put it on, and she says, oh no, she didn't really know what to do with her dance card, but she ends up taking it. Lady Danbury and Violet are speaking at the ball. Violet's looking for Benedict because of course he's not there. He's late because he was at the club. And Brother Danbury, Lord Anderson, he comes in, and it's so cute because Violet is crushing on his man. They have a cute little flirting going on. They're so adorable. They're just precious. And so you can tell Violet's like she's a little giddy that Lord Anderson is there. So the queen arrives to the ball and asks for Penelope. Instead of a diamond of the season that, Queen Charlotte always asks for, she wants to change it up this year. She wants to get a suitor instead of finding a diamond. So she's basically asking Penelope, they're kind of deciding on who the suitor will be. The eligible suitor, if you will be this season. So when I mentioned earlier about people knowing about Penelope being Lady Whistledown, I did notice particularly because this is a masquerade ball, you have the mask, but also, as we remember, the Featheringtons, Penelope's family, they have distinct red hair. Her hair is actually blonde in this, so I was like, okay, that's like a subtle way to know that people won't know that that's actually Lady Whistledown / Penelope. So Penelope is still able to get her dirt while she's like kind of going around, being around at the ball. Benedict arrives 2 hours late, of course, and is scolded by Mama, and she can smell the gin on him. She also tells him to start speaking to debutantes because that means he is back in society, and that's why she planned this ball. And reluctantly, Benedict goes and does that. You can tell by the way that he interacts with these ladies that he is bored. Remember, like I did say, that's why he didn't want to get married, because he thinks the ladies in society are boring. So we're introduced to Lady Penwood. She comes up to Violet and introduces herself, or says hi. And Violet's like, Lady Penwood, it's so nice to see you. We haven't seen you in a while. And she kind of mentions, well, I haven't been around after, my second husband died and the first one. And she tells her, we're also to introduce her 2 daughters, Rosamond and Posy, and that they're 2 debutantes this season. And you can kind of, there's a little bit of disdain with Posey. She's not too crazy about Posey, but she likes her. She loves her some Rosamund. And Lady Penwood actually asks Violet, does she think she'll be successful in getting Benedict a lady or a debutante or a wife this season? And you can tell that Violet's a little taken aback that she was so blunt about it, and she didn't really know how to answer that. I think she says, I don't know, and then she says, will you excuse me? And she kind of hurries off. We cut to Penelope and Eloise, remember the besties, and Penelope goes over to Eloise as she's talking to debutantes, and she's shocked, and Penelope kind of teases Eloise. She's like, never thought I'd see the day that you were talking to debutantes. You were talking to people in society, because, you know, Eloise is a feminist, and this isn't really kind of her thing. She kind of is like just doing her own thing most of the time, not really interested, but she's talking to people this season. And so Eloise informs Penelope that she is on the shelf, which means, I'm assuming at the time, they don't really explain this, but that means, I'm going to assume that she basically does not want to be noticed. She kind of wants to just be a wallflower. She's not trying to be in society like that or get married. So, yeah. So we see Lord Kilmartin, or John Sterling. I'm going to refer to him as Lord Kilmartin because I just like that name better. We see Lord Kilmartin and Francesca speaking. They're having a conversation, and he basically tells Francesca that they're going to stay in Mayfair because he wants to be a part of Parliament, and he knows that she would be much happier staying with her family or near her family. And Francesca is elated and very excited, so they're going to be staying for this season. Now, I will be honest with you. I don't know about specifically Kilmartin and Francesca. I felt like we had a lot of Francesca's storyline last season, and I know that was part of the backlash with season 3 last or a couple years ago at this point, that we didn't see a lot of Penelope and Colin, but we were seeing a lot of everybody else, including Benedict. But we saw a lot of Francesca's storyline, so I'm kind of hoping, like, they're cute, but I'm kind of hoping that we don't get too in the weeds this season about Francesca and Kilmartin. And I also do wonder if she's going to have a standalone season, but it kind of seems like maybe her story is just going to be told throughout each season now that they're doing the ensemble cast. So I don't know. But anyway, yeah, so Francesca and Lord Kilmartin are going to stay in Mayfair, so we are going to be seeing them in and out this season. Benedict, so you can see that he's very overwhelmed meeting with all these debutantes and dancing and all this other stuff. But then he sees a lady in silver who is looking at a chandelier, and she is just, you can tell she's mesmerized by this chandelier, and she has a smile on her face, and he is mesmerized by this lady and just watching her. So this guy comes up to this lady, the lady in silver, and he's asking her to dance, and Benedict sees that she folded up her dance card behind her back. I think Benedict's like looking from behind her, or is her back, or excuse me, the lady's back is turned to Benedict. So he can see her folding up the paper, the dance card, and putting it in her glove, and she's not interested. She says, oh, I lost my dance card, blah, 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 blah. And Benedict sees that, and he sees John, or I believe it was John the footman, and he gets a dance card, and he rescues the lady in silver and says, hey, well, you dropped your dance card. And he tells the guy that, oh, I have her dance card and I'm next on it. And the lady in silver kind of goes along with it, so the guy leaves. And the lady in silver asks, why did you just rescue me? And he says, because you have so much joy on your face. And I've never seen anyone have so much joy on their face at an event like this, at these type of events. So Benedict also furthermore asks her why she was not interested in that suitor that was talking to her and dancing. And she says, well, I'm not looking for a husband. And Benedict is like, what? Because y'all know all the women here are trying to get booed up. They're trying to get a man, particularly a Bridgerton man, Benedict. And so, yeah, so he's even more enamored with this, because this is not a lady who is like the other women in society. So now he's even more intrigued. So Queen Charlotte and Penelope are still talking, and Queen Charlotte chooses Benedict as the suitor to keep their eye on this season. And Penelope is like, oh gosh, please do not, because she knows him, and no, 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 no. But Queen Charlotte says, yes, 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 yes. Benedict is going to be our suitor of the season. We go back to Violet and Lord Anderson. They have a moment. Violet is outside. She comes out out of the ball, and you can tell she's kind of looking for somebody. And Lord Anderson comes out, and I do think he says, "Are you looking for me?" or something. And she was, and she goes up to him, and he takes her hand. And y'all, Bridgerton is so good at the longing and the want. Like, you can just feel it through the screen. Like, you feel it. Lord Anderson not grabs, but I guess grabs Violet's hand and kisses the inside of her wrist. Y'all, okay. The last time I saw this kind of stuff, like the level of romance and longing and chemistry, is with Kate and Anthony. Because Anthony, boy, I'm gonna save that because I will recap that season for another day, because oh my gosh, I just love Kate and Anthony. But anywho, Lord Anderson and Violet share a tender moment, but then it gets broken up by, I think, some housekeeping staff or something, and Violet kind of gets a little flustered and scurries off. I believe Lord Anderson has like a little smile on his face. So again, they're just so fresh, so cute. The Mondricks are, we go back to the ball. The Mondricks are introduced to the Queen. Lady Danbury introduces the Mondricks to the Queen, and the Queen just completely ignores them, altogether. And Lady Danbury says, "I'm so sorry." And then they just kind of wander off. So Queen Charlotte tells Lady Danbury that she wants them to have a good season this year, and she's so excited. And Lady Danbury says, well, I wanted to talk to you about that. And she brings up that she wants to travel, and Brimsley's like, oh gosh. He kind of turns a little bit and looks at Lady Danbury because he knows something's behind that. So she basically says that she wants to travel. Lady Danbury wants to travel. She doesn't really want to be a part of society anymore. She wants to go back to her home. She hasn't been there since she, I think, was 4 years old. And she wants to see her ancestral home. And she said, of course, she will come back and visit and say hi, and they'll stay in touch. But she wants to leave. And she says leave for a time, but I'm assuming she wants to move completely. And again, you think it's another like great moment, like it's going to be a tender moment, and Queen Charlotte's going to say yes, but then that might be so out of character for Queen Charlotte. So Queen Charlotte says no, and that's it. Benedict and the Lady in Silver, they go out to the terrace. I did not mention this before, but the Lady in Silver does not know how to dance. So Benedict has suggested they go out to the private terrace, and also to get away from his mother, because he knows that she's going to be looking at him, trying to see if he has a suitor or somebody. So the Lady in Silver and Benedict, they kind of have a nice banter. It's very sweet. They're both very quick-witted. But the one thing that keeps coming back, he does not know her name, but she knows about him. And he's like, well, I don't think that's fair that I know you know who I am, but I don't know who you are. And he kind of asks her certain questions, and he's like, well, where did you grow up? She says London. And who are your mother and who are your parents? Or what are your parents' names or something? She says mother and father. It's very cheeky. It's very cute. After their banter, the Lady in Silver kind of cuts to the chase, or she kind of sees through what Benedict is doing, and they use a metaphor, and she says, do you often put attention onto others so people can't see beneath the surface? Come on, girl, let's go. Clock it, girl. And so he says he's more comfortable being shallow. It's better to be warm and in shallow waters. And she says, well, won't you come out and wade into deep waters with me? I don't know why I just thought this was so cute, but I loved it. And she says it's boring to do that day after day. And he kind of opens up to her and says that he feels that the debutantes don't really want him, more so the title, and he's a Bridgerton. Everybody wants a Bridgerton. And he's just kind of like, I feel like an imposter, even more so in this house, the Bridgerton house. And so then he teaches her how to dance. And at one point, they're dancing with their eyes closed, and Benedict says, are you already that good to where you can dance with your eyes closed? And she says she wants to remember this moment so when she can't escape, she can come back to this moment. And he says, Benedict says, you are the most intriguing woman I've ever met. And he asks, how is he supposed to call for her or basically get in contact with her if he doesn't know her name? And she says that's impossible. And he calls her the Silver Ingenue, I believe. And he goes in for a kiss, but only kisses her cheek. So he just kisses her cheek. Then he takes off her glove. And another hand moment. He has her hand and he just inhales deeply. Her hand, so her bare hand, because he just took off the glove, her bare hand, because she had two gloves on. Didn't mention that. And she has two gloves on. And he takes off the glove and he just gets her hand and he smells it. He has a deep inhale. He asks one more time for her name. And there's a bell that's going off, and that means that everyone is supposed to take off their mask, which means it's midnight. And remember, like I said earlier, the coachman that was talking to this particular lady in silver said you have to be back by midnight. And so she runs off, and before she runs off though, she stops on the terrace, turns back around and runs and just kisses Benedict. And she goes. So as she runs out of the house, Lady in Silver runs out of the Bridgerton house. She knows she has to cut through the ball. She runs into Lady Penwood, and Lady Penwood says, watch it, basically. She apologizes and she runs off. That is going to be notable for later, but just keep that in your mind. Benedict runs after her because it's a little bit of time, and she's completely gone, but he has her glove. Little Cinderella moment. So he has her glove. The Lady in Silver returns home, and we find out that she's a maid. So that is the reason why, she was saying that it's impossible. She's not looking for a husband because she's a maid, and she wasn't supposed to be there in the first place, but somehow she got in, and so she was there. So we see her talking to some of the staff that kind of helped her get there, and they asked her how it was, and she said it was the most wonderful night that she's ever had, most wonderful night of her life. And then we see the coachman who was talking to her earlier. He actually works there at this house as well, in housekeeping as well. The lady that she ran into, the Lady in Silver, who is now that we know is the maid, she actually is this Lady Penwood, and the two daughters, Rosamond and Posey. They are actually, stay with me here, Lady Penwood, Posey, and Rosamond are the family that the maid works for. So, whoa. So they just came back from the ball, so that's why she had to be back by midnight, because if she wasn't, Lady Penwood and her daughters would have figured it out and she would have got found out. So the sisters are talking about the ball. The Lady in Silver is asking how it is. And I believe we find out her name is Sophie. We are finally given her name when they start to see Lady Penwood and the two daughters. So her name, the Lady in Silver's name is Sophie. So Sophie is listening to the daughters talk about the ball. Posey says it was wonderful, and she's like, she wished she would see what a toga was, because there was a gentleman there in a toga. And then Rosamond says that Benedict was totally into Rosamond, and Posey says he was, or really? And She says, well, he will be, but that lady took so much of his time, which that lady was actually Sophie, but no one knows. Lady Penwood says, well, darling, like, it doesn't matter, tells Rosamund, it doesn't matter who that lady was because he doesn't compare to you. And Sophie slams, like, she's serving them cookies, and she slams it down, and Lady Penwood kind of is like, is there something that offended you? And Sophie says, no, ma'am. And then she dismisses her. So, obviously she was offended at that comment, Rosamund or Lady Penwood comment, because Sophie was the lady that she could say that she doesn't compare to Rosamund. Now, I do want to point out here, this is where we have the Cinderella trope. So we have the evil stepmother, and we don't know that's the stepmother, but I'm just gonna go ahead and say it's the evil stepmother and the two daughters. So this is the Cinderella like trope that we're having right now. Meanwhile, back at the Bridgerton house, Penelope is trying to convince the queen that Benedict ain't it. He does not need to be the suitor because she knows how he is. And he is the least likely to get married. And probably out of all the suitors in the town or in society. And Queen Charlotte is like, do you care to wager on that? So now I guess they have a bet. Penelope's not with it, but of course it's the queen, so she has to just go along with it. To a conversation that Mama Bridgerton and Eloise are having. So at this point, the ball's over. People are going home, right? So Eloise and Mama Bridgerton are having a conversation, and Eloise tells Violet that she wants to be a spinster. She's going to be a spinster. She's okay. She's on the shelf. And Violet is like, you don't have to be if you would just try. And Eloise is kind of like, okay. And she says, I had my hands full last season with Colin and Francesca, but you and your brother Benedict are on the top of my list for matchmaking this season. And Eloise is like, okay, girl. She's like, I'm going to bed. So after the conversation with Eloise, Violet's kind of wandering through the house, or she's about to go upstairs to the bed, but then she sees Benedict on the staircase, and she asks Benedict, like, how was tonight? How was this evening? Did you find anyone? And she looked so cute because she looked so hopeful that she was hoping and praying that he found somebody. And so she's like, did you find anyone? And Benedict's like, no. But he does say that he does have appreciation now. He understands what these women have to go through. And, he explains that they go through all these hours of preparation just to be noticed, just to be seen. So he empathizes with the ladies for that, the ladies of society, the debutantes. And he does not mention the lady in silver. But of course, that was the end of that conversation. But of course, we end the episode with Lady Whistledown. So you see that some of what she's basically saying, Lady Whistledown, is she doesn't think that Benedict will be married, but she knows better than anyone that sometimes reality, make-believe can become reality. And that is episode 1. So, I've talked to some of my family and friends about this episode, and I know some people think that it was a little slower paced. I will say the first half of this episode was slower paced for me, but once we got to that ball, I was locked in. I was like, sign me up, I'm here. And that's where it started taking off for me. And I'll be honest that I was not excited, and I might be repeating myself because I don't remember what I said at the beginning of this video, but I was not going to be, or I was not that intrigued with the Benedict season. But honey, let me tell you, I'm locked in. I'm here. I'm here to the end. Yeah, I'm happy. I like Benedict. I've always liked Benedict, but I always thought he was a good side character. I wasn't sure if he was going to have like main character energy, and I cannot believe I just said that. But I didn't think he was going to be like a main character, like great as a main character for me, and he's great. So I actually really enjoy it, and I like the love interest Sophie. I do like her. One thing I've noticed though, anytime I see Colin now, y'all, I'm just not interested. How are y'all feeling about that? I know last season, like he was getting the whole ick thing, and I'm kind of like still there. I'm just like, mm-mm. Anytime I see Penelope and Colin, I'm like, next. I do not care. I do not care. And I'm so mad because I was so excited for their season, and now, like, I don't care. I really don't. I'm like, Colin, gone on and write or do something. Okay, sorry, y'all. My iPhone said it has full storage, so I need to wrap this up. That means I've been talking too much as usual. Anyway, so yeah, I'm just really not into the whole Colin and Penelope thing, and hopefully, which is really unfortunate. But anyway, so yeah, that's episode 1, and I will be back for episode 2. At this point, like I said, right now as I'm filming this, the second part has not come out yet. However, I think it comes out in 2 or 3 days. So by the time I post this first episode, the second half may have already come out yet, but I will be doing this episode by episode. And guys, I am back. I am back. For real, for real. So I'm going to be posting things. I'm going to try weekly is what I'm aiming for. There's also a few other shows. We are in a high time for television and movies right now. There are so many shows right now that I'm watching and shows that are coming out that I want to talk about. Just so many. So yeah, but this stuff takes a lot of time to do because you got to watch it, take note. It's a lot. Anywho, you will see me back next week with episode 2 for Bridgerton, or maybe next week, maybe later this week. I don't know yet. But my next video will be Bridgerton 2 and probably another series that I'm watching. I'm going to try to do 2. It's ambitious. But thank you guys so much for watching my channel, the support, the comments. I see them all. I do have another Ugly Betty video coming out too. I actually filmed it 3 months ago, 3 months ago. I just haven't had time to edit it. Some more episodes of season 3, and I'll be posting that. But thank you all for watching my videos. I know it's not a lot of y'all out there, but it's just greatly appreciated. It's so exciting to talk about things, and then you see other people engaged. And you know, if it's whether it's somebody, you know, here in the next state, over another country, it's just cool. And this is what I love about social media. You can find other like-minded people, and you can all just, you know, talk about your interests and common interests. So thank you all so much. I appreciate you. Thank you for stopping by on my channel. If this is your first time, please like the video, share your comments, your thoughts, and I will be back for next episode. I will be back from the next video with the next episode of season 4, episode 2 of Bridgerton. Bye.